Congressman. It's shocking that you weren't asked to be part of the mini-series that they had filmed for primetime television with all the other actors in the January 6th committee.
Well, they knew I wouldn't follow the script, and that's the problem, Benny. And they knew Jim Jordan wasn't going to follow that script. They knew Jim Banks was going to follow that script. And let's go back. Nancy Pelosi, whenever there's a committee formed in Congress, the majority leader of whoever's the speaker, they put members up, and then the minority leader puts members up. Kevin McCarthy put up Jim Jordan, Jim Banks, several of our colleagues to sit on this committee that Nancy Pelosi wanted to form. When she saw the list, she was like, oh, no, I don't want them on the committee. She scrapped them and then basically sat the whole committee by herself. That's how you got Kinzinger and Liz Cheney on there. And so it was a joke and a circus from the start. We knew that this was nothing but a political circus. It was media. It was storytelling. And so now the facts have actually come out. And the other thing, Benny, and we're still asking current Speaker Johnson to hold them accountable, and that work is happening, is that the January 6th committee formed under Nancy Pelosi, they destroyed evidence, they deleted video, which is illegal. You're not allowed to destroy information in a congressional hearing, from a congressional hearing. They did that, and we're going to hold them accountable for that as well.
What does that mean, hold them accountable? And also, I mean, listen, you've been on the show a lot. You'd be a great cast member. I mean, casting you would have been, it really is incredible because they were casting parts, right? Like that, it's changed my entire perception seeing that clip. They looked at this as a TV show, the January 6th hearings, and they admit it. They're proud of it. And
no, you're absolutely right. That's what they did.
I mean, I guess I'm glad that they admit it, but like, also, what a fraud on the American people. What does holding them accountable look like? Like, because we've heard that a lot, Congressman, but like, I don't know what's going to happen.
Well, look, Chair Loudermilk right now, who's the sub-chair on House Administration, he's going through all this information now. As I understand it, when he's done with his investigation, there's a potential that criminal referrals can be filed and sent to the Department of Justice. Now, look, we know that this Department of Justice does not want to prosecute Democrats unless you just, flagrantly spend more than $200,000 on your own security. Quite sure we'll get to that in a minute. But the reality is that you're not allowed to destroy that information. It is the public record. It must always be retained, especially in light of the fact that you have this lawfare by these fascists. And I say fascists, and I'm not being glib, I'm being serious. They are turning the legal system on its head, destroying it just to criminalize President Trump. And in the entire time, they are the ones that are breaking the law. They are the ones who are breaking our institutions. They are the ones who are destroying norms just so they can retain power. That sounds pretty fascist to me.
Yeah. Okay. So nobody wanted to watch the January 6th hearings, and also nobody wants to watch hardcore pornography that's being filmed. We found out just moments ago that nobody will be charged in the grotesque acts that were being filmed by Democrat staffers in the Senate. The cops are just like, okay, effectively now saying you're allowed, if you have a congressional badge, you're allowed to film pornography in the government buildings. Is that a memo you have to send now to your staff? Like, don't do that?
Look, I don't have to send a memo like that to my staff because they already know what would happen. They'd be fired on the spot. And whatever I could do to hold them accountable past that, I would. I mean, look, this is a travesty, man. This is a joke. We have people up here in the nation's capital who do not take this nation seriously.
Yes.
They don't take their oaths seriously. And if they happen to work for a member of Congress, they don't take that responsibility and that duty seriously. They're chasing their own ends, their own careers, and this is what's wrong with the country now. And people say that all the time, what's wrong with the country? It's not the American people. They're the ones who are getting this right. It's the people up here on Capitol Hill. So that's why elections do matter. I know we could talk about elections and what happened in 20 and beyond, but you got to show up and do the job, because if you don't, these people, they want you to not pay attention to what they're doing. They don't want accountability. They don't even want transparency. They just want to deflect and they want to blame. And I find that to be ridiculous. I don't even know if that staffer's still here, but you just can't be getting, you can't be having your legs spread in a congressional hearing room and there be no consequences. I'm sorry. Sorry. There's just some levels of decorum that have to be maintained.
That's right. I hope you have plenty of Lysol wipes whenever you go into a hearing room. And also, For me, it wasn't shocking because I'm used to seeing, I'm like, as the American taxpayer, I assume that we're just going to be effed over in these rooms day and night. But I was shocked to see that in my social feed. Clearly, you should charge somebody for these acts of lewdness and everything. But what do I know? I'm not a lawyer. I do know, however, that Fani Willis isn't behaving like a lawyer either. Fani Willis is doing, I think, kind of like the same thing with taxpayer money down in Georgia. And you're talking about these criminal cases against Donald Trump and how embarrassing and fascistic they are. But this is just reaching levels of hilarity with Big Fanny and Loverboy using federal funds and then misusing federal funds, trying to hide it, firing whistleblowers. She seems like she's in a real world of hurt right now. Do you think this case is going to stand? Will we see her disqualified on February 15th when she has to answer in court? I
hope so. I'm telling you, Benny, I hope so. If there's any semblance of help for our judicial system, then these attorneys, they got to be held accountable as well. They don't get to just hide behind the fact that they have a law license and that they're prosecutors, and that just gives them impunity to do whatever they want. That's something that people have always had issues with the justice system about. So she needs to be held accountable. And this ain't about her being a black woman or being a white man, or she's not a white man, but obviously it doesn't matter what her gender is, doesn't matter what her race is. The fact of the matter is that she was misusing public funds and at the same time is bringing this terrible, crazy RICO case against Donald Trump because, yeah, he asked questions about election procedures in Georgia. Last time I checked, you're allowed to contest elections. There's nothing wrong with that, except, of course, if you're a Republican who's trying to hold the Democrats accountable. Now it's criminality according to them. But look, for Fani Willis, listen, this is terrible. But once again, these Democrats who are preaching to the American people about transparency and democracy, they don't believe in any of that. They believe in power. And we're seeing more and more of these stories where now their dirty laundry is coming out and they want to feign outrage and then they want to go to church about it and say how they're being persecuted. No, that's a lie. They got caught. Fani Willis got caught. She should be held accountable by the system in Georgia.
I do think that it's despicable that they use the podium of Christian churches in order to wrap themselves in glory and say that they're on the side of righteousness when they're breaking up marriages, misusing funds, and behaving criminally, and then going after a president for his free speech. It really is grotesque and frankly blasphemous. Godspeed, Congressman. You have a lot of demons to fight up there. Go slay them, man.
Thanks, Benny. Take it easy.